Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Mike with the Franchise Business Podcast, and I'm here with Adam Baker. Adam is somebody I've been lucky enough to kind of get to know and build a relationship with. Adam is I'll let you introduce yourself, Adam, but a cost reduction consultant in Erie, Pennsylvania. So, Adam, tell people a little bit about yourself and what led you to kind of start, doing cost reduction work for business clients in Erie.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah.
So Adam Baker with Schooley Mitchell. For those that are unfamiliar with Schooley Mitchell, we are North America's largest and oldest cost reduction consultancy. We've got nearly 300 locations across North America, and we've been doing this for over 2 decades. And it's kind of interesting the path that I took to get there. In that I was a former military officer and had an opportunity to deploy to Iraq back in the 2000s, and given two missions. I was given a combat operations mission, but then also a mission to work with the Army and the Marine Corps on a cost reduction project. How do we reduce the cost of the warfighting effort without reducing the impact of our effectiveness? So that was like my first foray into cost reduction and understanding it's not about cutting services or reducing headcount. There are strategic and tactical ways that you can do this. When I got out, I went out to the corporate world and got to use some of those same skills. And I ended up working with, we brought in one of the large consultancy firms and realized how much time they take from an organization's manpower, and kind of thought there's got to be a better way to do this to help organizations reduce their costs. And that's when I came across Schooley Mitchell. And kind of the model is so unique in that it's like, hey, we bet on ourselves. We believe that we're going to develop solutions that you like, that we won't charge you a fee unless we're able to achieve savings for you. And then the bigger part is that we do all the work, from the analysis to the implementation to the monitoring. That was really what convinced me to say, hey, this is where I should be, because I recognize that that's a struggle for most organizations to, everyone needs more money, but really we are so time poor that a lot of organizations don't have the time to do this. And so that's kind of what took me in that direction.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I imagine the time you're able to save your clients is probably as important as the money, right? And I know I'm time poor. I imagine most people in business are. So you become a valuable resource to get them that time back to do more important things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Well,
Absolutely.
well, I was fortunate enough, Adam, to hear you at a conference a few months ago. Kind of give a little bit about your background, and it sounded like from your presentation, you're very passionate about, I think, serving others and helping your clients. And so, if you don't mind, just kind of sharing, what is your passion related to operating your business, and what is your passion related to helping your clients, and other things that I imagine there's things that you love about what you do. What are those things?
Yeah. Uh, so I really saving money is great. It really is. Um, so I kind of take this two ways. I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations. Mike, as you alluded to, I'd given that speech on my upbringing. Grew up to a single mother. She had ninth grade education. We were poor. We were homeless.
Right.
Spent time in homeless shelters, domestic abuse shelters. Um, and what that really did was it planted a seed inside of me to recognize that nonprofits need a lot of help. They're doing a lot of good in the world, and so to be able to find them, they can't just raise their prices when their costs increase. They can't just raise prices because that's not how they operate.
Right.
So there's a passion in working with the nonprofits to help them reduce their costs. On the for-profit side, I'll tell you a quick story, Mike. And I remember the day. It was July 11th, 2017. I was an operations manager, and I was responsible for linemen, the guys that go out and work on the high voltage lines.
Right.
Every morning I sat down with my team and we had a safety briefing, because my most important role, everyone has to watch the budget, but my most important role was getting those guys home safe every day. On July 11th, 2017, I was pulled into a budget meeting. We were off budget on our O&M budget, and so we had to come up with some strategies to reduce it. So I wasn't at the safety meeting with my team. I got a call around 11:30 that one of my linemen had a flash, which he took 7,000 volts to the face and was in the hospital.
Wow.
For me, working for my for-profit clients, the money's great, but it's the time. They need to be focused on their mission, what they're doing, versus focused on how do we save this money. So my passion, it depends on who I'm working with. The nonprofits, obviously, time's great, but it's really that money. And then for my for-profits, just trying to find them that time, the way they can concentrate on what they're supposed to do.
Sure. Absolutely. That's awesome. And I think, like you said in that presentation, I was lucky enough to hear from you, find your passion, right? And I think anyone in business for themselves, and probably anyone in a job as well, you're going to be more effective when you're passionate, and people can probably sense that from you. And there's kind of a trust that's built in when they feel that from you.
Absolutely. 100%.
Awesome. So, Adam, I mean, really impressive career. And again, thank you for your service as well, serving with the U.S. military. But you've built up, a skill set in some different sectors that you've worked in. How do your skills and the things that you've learned through those past careers kind of help you deliver value today to your clients? I mean, you've alluded to that a little bit, but if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about how things, skill-wise in the past have helped you today with your clients.
Yeah. One of the big things is just being of service. I get requests from my clients to look into things that we don't look into, but because we talk to enough organizations and we understand how things work, we're typically an easy button for a lot of our clients. So just knowing that to serve, right? That's ultimately what we're trying to do, is to serve. The other piece of this is I did a lot of project management. And really, that's what we're doing at Schooley Mitchell. This is a project that we need to project manage for our clients. We need to set some goals. We need to set some timelines to kind of get them through, because left to their own devices, they're not going to get it done, which is why typically it doesn't get done in the first place. So bringing that in with also that respect of they don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to this. So how do we manage this properly at appropriate level that we can get the best results for them without taking a lot of their time?
Sure. Absolutely. And I imagine part of that, Adam, is kind of prioritizing their needs as well to kind of maximize the results and minimize the resources required on their end. So how are you able to kind of formally prioritize their needs? Because I'm sure it differs from client to client. So how do you do that?
It does, and it's really asking what is the goal of this outcome? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to reduce costs? Do we have a vendor that we're dealing with that's just really, really tough to deal with, and we want to move away from them or find some alternatives? Is there a technology issue they're dealing with? So the first thing we need to do is understand what the pain point is. Where we're very fortunate is we've got a team of over 140 staff that this is all they do, right? They sit in the head office. This is all they do. So if your concern is we need to find the most savings, when we get those invoices to our team, they can look at it and say, hey, we believe this is the biggest opportunity. Let's go after this one first, right? Or if we say, hey, this vendor's the issue, that's great. Let's take that one on first to get it resolved. So what we're trying to do is we want to pair up what the concern is with our client with what our team knows about how to resolve that, and really prioritize it that way. And I just had this conversation with one of our clients yesterday. We have a team large enough that we could tackle it all at one time. Our clients don't have that team. So one of the first things we do in that call is let's set our priorities. What do we want to go after first? And then we'll kind of move our way through there.
Right. Awesome. And I'm sure they appreciate that you're trying to, kind of go along their schedule and make sure that their needs are met, but at the appropriate timeline for what they can afford resource wise.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So on that note, Adam, do you have any kind of, again, lots of clients that you've worked with, any particular stories that you're willing to share about, their pain points, and then what you were able to do to come in and address those pain points and help?
We just did a project for, it was a nonprofit homeless shelter. And so we looked at their fuel costs. They have a fleet of vehicles, looking at their fuel costs. Obviously money was an issue for them. But as we dug deeper, what we found was in order for them to fuel their vehicles, the team members would come in and they would take from the cash box, fill it up, and then put a receipt back in there. this was a budgeting nightmare for our clients. And they didn't have the time to look. They didn't understand it. So what we did was we took this project and we said, okay, let's look at the vendors that we have and we know. And we were able to negotiate it so that they can get fuel cards and they'll get a discount. So we've created savings on their fuel. But more importantly, they are going to now have a system in place that tracks everything for them so that they can monitor in real time where are they at on their fuel spend. And now they can start historically seeing what are they spending so they can budget appropriately. And that just happened this week. And so those are the kind of things that we're trying to do to help our clients. It's not just negotiating a lower rate. It's how do we help you save money, save time?
Sure. Awesome. So it sounds like, I mean, what you're really doing is, can we save you money, but also improve your processes or make you more efficient? So, I mean, it's a win across multiple, levels for the clients you work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And similar sort of question, Adam, but has there ever been a specific client where maybe you went in and you looked at them and maybe how they operated or the type of organization they were, you didn't think any results could be found, and yet you could still find some savings for them that they could then put back into their organization?
Yeah, it was. So I've got a vet clinic client, and they were using a GPO, group purchasing organization, and GPOs. We're different than GPOs, but GPOs could be the right solution depending on the organization. And you get discounts because they buy in bulk. And so they use credit card processing through their GPO. And so we really didn't think that we would find much in savings for them. But we said, hey, we'll take this on. We'll give it a shot and see what we can find for them. During our analysis, we found a few things. One, we found a vendor that could save them money. But the other thing we found was the way their current vendor operated, and the new vendor, is that whenever their front desk would process a credit card transaction, they would type it in, and then it gave them the opportunity to put the zip code. And they just bypassed it because it would allow them. And what we found was by putting that zip code saved them money because it made it a more secure transaction, right? So we found the money right off the bat. We said, hey, have your team members ask what, if they're going to punch it in, have them ask the zip code, put that in, that'll make it more secure. But then moving them over to this other vendor saved them additional money. What was really cool about that project, though, like we weren't really sure how much savings we can get. We got them some appreciable savings, but in the veterinarian world, they're struggling with veterinarians and vet techs. And it's a super competitive world and where they'll poach others. And what they were able to do is they were able to take those savings that they were losing to the credit card processors, and they were able to increase what they were paying their vet techs. That way they weren't losing them to their competition. And so that was a cool story. It was money they had in their budget. It was just going to the wrong place. We were able to get those savings so they can put it where it mattered most.
Oh, that's fantastic. And it sounds like, again, you're getting down to some minutia that they just wouldn't realize with the zip code, and they had a way of doing things. And so I think having an outside set of eyes that are experts like you are in these things is just really valuable, and again, drives results for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Adam. Well, my last sort of question, and then I'll leave the floor open to you. Any common misconceptions that clients have about your services? I know maybe, some businesses are worried about changing providers and maybe concerned that that's what you want to do, or any other kind of misconceptions that they have, and how do you address those?
Yeah. Probably the two biggest misconceptions that I get are it's going to take a lot of their time and their personnel. And that the fees are going to be more than what we said they were going to be, right? And so what we do is we get testimonies from our clients that say, listen, it took us very little time to do this. When you're good at something, it's just like going into your mechanic. If you've got a good mechanic and you say my engine, it's got a knock, he'll say, okay, well, what's it sound like? And then he can diagnose it pretty quickly, right? If they don't know, then they're going to ask you a lot of questions. Our team, because they do this every day, we don't need a lot of our clients' time. We know the right questions to ask. We have to take some of their time because each organization is different. So we need to know how they're utilizing this service. So that's the first thing is understanding like we don't take a lot of time, a couple hours up front, and then we're out of your hair. And then the other part is the fees. Is organizations are so used to consultants coming in and saying, "Hey, we've got this idea for you, and we're gonna figure it out, and then we're going to charge you a fee, and then you're going to implement it yourself." Right? We don't really care about the success. It's getting them to understand that our success is tied to their success. Our fees. We could literally come back with a recommendation to save a client $1 million, and they could say no, and there is no fee for them. Our fees are built on the actual savings that they achieve, and then what we do is we bill after they achieve those savings. So those are some of the biggest misconceptions. You hit on the vendors.
Sure.
You know, it's almost 80% of the time we stay with the same vendor.
Okay. Wow.
You know, there's opportunities. Again, we're not looking to just negotiate a rate. We're looking to optimize the service. A great example, working with Napa. And I'm working with Napa across multiple states,
Right.
and we're looking at their telecommunications. In their telecommunications, there's only one vendor in some of these locations. So there's not even an opportunity to move them to a different provider. But what we're doing is we're doing broadband analysis. How much are they using of that broadband that they're paying for? In some of the locations, they're only utilizing 10%. Right. And so a 50, 60%, that's about where it should be. So what we can do is we can find savings with that vendor by not only negotiating, but actually getting that down and right sizing that service.
Right.
So it's kind of working through that. This is all about a relationship. And I said this at the talk that you heard. Every organization wants to save money. They just don't want to do it with me. Right. Until we build that relationship and that trust to let them know that we're here to serve them. At the end of the day, they don't have to take any of our recommendations. And because of that, we make sure to build our recommendations in such a way that they say, this just makes sense. Why wouldn't we do it?
Sure. Awesome. Yeah. It sounds to me, Adam, like somebody pays an accountant to help them with taxes, a lawyer to help them with legal issues. You're a resource like that, but for all these things that they just can't keep on top of, and you're the expert in. So
absolutely.
Awesome.
And here's the beauty. I'd love to say I'm the expert. I'm not the secret sauce.
Okay.
It's the team at the head office. Because they do it every single day. We've got and I'll just tell us, we've got a woman in waste and I absolutely love her because she can look at a zip code and the size of a dumpster and how many times it's getting picked up, and she can immediately say if you're getting a good deal or not. And because she does it every single day.
Right.
You know, she just knows it. They're the secret sauce. When it comes to managing the relationships, that's where I come in and I make sure that my clients are served.
That's awesome. It's really an extension of their team, but it's not of the client's team. It's just, they don't have to pay them. It's just, but they're finding results. And so though that's amazing, Adam.
Absolutely.
So thanks for doing this. I'll give you the floor. Anything else that you want to say to businesses that are maybe thinking about, hey, we'd like to increase our profits. How do we do that?
Yeah. So for those that are watching, they're probably saying, I have a team that already does this. Scully Mitchell is not here to replace your team. What we're here to do is complement your team. We're going to bring resources. We're going to bring data analytics. We're going to bring relationships that your team can't have. And so we complement the services that you're already doing to make sure that you're not overpaying for any of the services that you're receiving and that you're getting the best level of service that you can.
Awesome. Fantastic, Adam. Well, where can people find you if they want to get in touch and utilize your services and your team's expertise like you talked about?
Yep. So I'm on LinkedIn. You just search Adam Baker Scully Mitchell. That'll come up. Email adam.baker@scullymitchell.com. One of the benefits of having a super common name is you don't have to spell it out.
Sure.
So there, or they can reach out via phone, 814-812-0181. Happy to talk and happy to provide any sort of guidance that I can.
Awesome, Adam. Well, this is Adam Baker with Schooley Mitchell of Erie. Use the services because I think every business can increase their profits by reducing expenses, and nonprofits can, deal with fundraising issues by bringing Adam in and reducing their expenses as well. So, Adam, thank you for doing this. Mike from the Franchise Business Podcast, appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity.
You got it.